and welcome back to the Dandelion Diaries. Today I'm going to be going over the Writech Sign Brush Pens. I recently came across these on social media and thought they were a really cool option compared to the other brush pens that have a small nib, like the Pentel Sign Brush Pens. So I'm going to be doing a swatch and then a comparison on how they perform for the Pentel brush pens. And then I also have some Tombow Fudenosuke brush pens in hard tips, which are also pretty small, and we'll be doing comparisons on those too. So before I open these, I have not tested any of them. They are brand new out of the package. I am going to be testing them on 3 types of paper. So I have some Tomoe River paper here. This is just a blank piece of loose leaf Tomoe River paper. It's 52 GSM. This is Erin Condren 80-pound Mohawk paper. It's very similar to most bullet journal papers. It's not as thick as like Archer and Olive paper, but it is still a pretty thick paper in comparison. And then I also have just your standard letter size copy printer paper. And so we'll be testing it on all 3 of these, and I do have a piece of cardboard for the back because my desk has texture, so I want to make sure that we have a smooth writing surface. So I'm going to start by opening these up. They do come in 3 different packs. So they have the natural color set, the vintage color set, which is their newest one, and then the vibrant color set. All right. So we'll start with the vibrant color set. The packaging is really nice. It comes in this nice cardboard box, and they do slide out, I believe. Let's see. So they come out on one giant piece of plastic right here, and you can put them back on there. As for the pen body itself, it is pretty plain. There are no indicators on what color it is at all. Yeah, they all say the same thing. As for the nib size, we'll use this pink one for example. The nib looks like this. It is pretty small in comparison to the other brush pens. Here, I'll try to find the similar color. So we have all 3 brush pens here that I will be testing. We have the Pentel Fudenosuke, or Pentel Sign Brush Pen, the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen, and then the Writech Sign Brush Pen. As you can see, the nibs are very, very close in size, and so we'll see how they perform with writing compared to each other. So I'm just going to start with the printer paper here, and I'm going to pick the darkest color, which seems to be this kind of brown color. And this is the vibrant set. Whoa. They do post well, and I'm just going to write down what they are in kind of just regular fashion. So I will say on the printer paper, they are pretty grabby. The nibs grab really easily. And then as for the way it wrote really well, but it does ghost on the printer paper, but it did not bleed through. So that's a positive sign. Compared to the Pentels, here's the brown, and then we'll do a Fudenosuke also in brown. For the Pentel Sign Brush Pen, these are much inkier, it feels like. And they do have a more flexible nib. The more you use these, they will become more and more flexible, so that may change with the Writech brush pens. And then for the Tombow Fudenosuke's, these ones have incredibly fine tips. Like they can get really, really tiny. So if you're looking for a very small thing, I apologize, my cats and dogs are having a quarrel over there. But as you can see, between all three, the browns are obviously going to be different colors because they're different color pens. But the way they write, the brush pen is definitely more fluid for the Writech version and the Pentel version. I realized I forgot the L in Pentel. Huh. And then the Tombow hard tip is going to be much finer and a lot harder to write with because it is that hard tip. I will say between the Writech and the Pentel, they are very, very similar, and honestly, one or the other would be fine, whichever is cheaper for you, whichever has the colors you want. Either one would, I think, do best. For bleeding though, I will say the Pentels do bleed through on the copy paper. Like I said, they are a little bit inkier than the Writech, but the Tombows do not. So let's test it out on some of the other papers. This is the Tomoe River paper. Ooh, it writes really nice on this paper. I myself am an avid Hobonichi fan, and I have fallen in love with the Tomoe River paper. They are going to be revamping it for 2024 with a new kind of Tomoe River paper. They send us samples, and it's honestly not too bad. It didn't do anything different with the pens that I normally use, which is a good thing to me. I have been using these Pentels for, I'd probably say about a year. And so the nibs are a little bit more flexible than the Writech, but like I said, they will relax the more that you use them. And if you're heavy-handed, then they'll probably relax even faster. I'll just do brush pen. I know I did sign brush pen on the other one. So as for this one, in comparison, this is how they look. So the copy paper is much more inky. It picks up the color of the ink a lot differently than the Tomoe River paper, and that's because the Tomoe River paper is coated. But I really like the pooling of the ink for the Writech and the way the Pentel brush pens look as well. As for bleed through, nothing bleeding through, but it is ghosting, which is common with the Tomoe River paper since it is super thin, but that's a good sign. And then we'll test it lastly on the thicker paper. It definitely grabs a lot more on this paper because it is thicker. So my guess is over time, depending on how much you would use these, it would fray the nibs just because of that's the style of the paper. But I don't think it would be a bad thing. If you're using a pen that regularly, it would be worth repurchasing in my opinion. So now that we have tested on all three types of paper, you can see that all three behave very similarly no matter what kind of paper you use. I will say with the Tomoe River paper, it is a little bit inkier looking. For the thicker paper, it is much bolder, probably because the paper absorbs the ink a lot better. But as for bleed through on the thickest paper, it is non-existent and it's hardly even ghosting, which is pretty common for thicker planner paper or bullet journal paper, oh my gosh, bullet journal paper, or any kind of notebook paper. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the rest of these, and we'll do some swatches, and then I'll do a smear test on, well, actually no, I'm going to do the smear test first with the same marker. So I'll do a immediate, a 5-second, and a 10-second. So immediately, nothing. Five-second, nothing. And 10-second, nothing. Not surprising, copy paper pretty much absorbs ink right away. Immediate, pretty common on Tombow river paper. 5-second, not too bad, just a little bit of smudging, which is much better than the Pentels. And after 10 seconds, it's completely dry. That's awesome. That's a really good sign, because with the Pentel pens, they don't dry that fast. Immediate, looks good. Yeah, all right, so none of those smudge except for the Tombow river paper and the immediate and the 5-second, which if you're familiar with the Tombow river paper, that is very common. And I'll show you how this works for the Pentel too, because it is very smeary compared to the Writech that we just tried. See, like it smears way more. And even after 10 seconds, it still smears. So if you're a Hobonichi user or you like the Tombow river paper and you're looking for a brush pen that doesn't smear as fast, the Writech may be the best option for you, because 10 seconds, that's really good that it dried that fast on the Tombow river paper. Okay, so now let's move on to doing some swatches. So this is the vintage color. These are the vintage colors. I do wish they had names, but you can probably come up with names on your own if you really wanted to. And as far as I know, they only sell these on Amazon. So if you are interested, I will leave a link down below where you can purchase the different packs. And they do have other types of writing utensils. I know they have a whole bunch of clickable highlighters that have been very popular. And then they also have some fine liners, which I actually did get some of, and I'm still testing them out. And they have like rollerball pens, gel pens, ballpoint pens. Kind of taken the pen world by storm, these guys. I will say on this paper, they do seem to be skipping a little bit with the ink, specifically that last pink one I did. I'll show you. So you see how it kind of frayed a little bit when I was swatching, and I do write pretty hard when I'm brush lettering, so maybe that's why, but we'll see how it behaves on the other papers, and maybe it's just that this is thicker paper and catches the bristles a little weird. And I will say this is a very honest review. I bought these with my own money. I am not sponsored by Writech. I don't have any kind of affiliation with them. So this is 100% my honest opinion. They do seem to have a common effect where the bristles look really rough for some of the pens, at least on the thicker papers. I haven't noticed any of that on the Tombow River paper, but on the copy paper and that thicker Erin Condren paper, it definitely is showing signs of the bristles separating on the brush pen. It kind of did it here just now on the Tombow River paper. Which, if you're not super heavy-handed, I don't think that would be a problem. But if you're heavy-handed like me, then yeah. Oops, I missed one. Okay, so these are all of the swatches for the Vibrant color pack. They do have the little squares on the back of what colors they are. As for how well they match, I don't think they match pretty close at all, actually. Like, because if this is supposed to be that brown looks nothing like that. Okay, we'll move on to the next pack. So this one is the, I'll do the older ones first. This one is the natural color pack. And we'll see how they compare. Okay, so this one looks like it has either a dark gray, a black, or maybe a dark blue in it. So that should be interesting to see compared to some of the others. You would think in the Vibrant pack they would have a black or something like that, but they don't, and that's okay. All right. So again, naturals. Okay, yeah, so this one's kind of like a black. This one's the navy. I really like the navy, actually. It's really pretty. Okay, so that is the natural set. So on all 3 pages, they look almost spot on. They are different than the Vibrant set, which is nice to see that they don't really have anything super similar. I will say this blue and this blue are pretty much the same color, just this one's a little bit lighter. All right, and the last set they have is their newest, which is called the Vintage set. And again, it has that little color swatch panel on the back. I don't think they're very true to the actual colors of the markers, but I know it's hard between printer ink and the way ink actually writes on different paper. It is very hard to get those close together. All right, so this is the last pack, which is the Vintage color set. I think they were trying to go for more neutrals, like less vibrant colors with this. And I'd say they succeeded so far on the blues, but those blues are very similar together. This one almost seems like it's out of ink already and it's brand new. Maybe it's just the way that they, again, their brush tips seem to be a little bit more, I don't know, frayed almost than the other ones. And maybe, like I said, maybe I'm just too hard-handed for these. I will say the colors in the vintage pack are very muted and very on trend with what is in the stationery world right now. But I also think the natural colors are in the same category. They're very much neutral, but a little bit darker. Oh wow, that's beautiful. It's like a wine color. Burgundy wine color. Very similar to this one though. Okay, so that is the naturals set, or not the naturals, the vintage set. So I'm gonna take one of my Pentel brush pens and kind of show you guys, like when I do that, it doesn't, oh, okay, so it does skip like that on this paper. So it could just be the thicker paper then, not necessarily the nibs of the pens. And obviously, if you're brush lettering, you may not be scratching the paper hard like that. You're probably going to be going pretty slow until you just get the hang of the pen itself. But overall, I think they do have a good amount of colors to choose from. I wish that they had, I guess, more, I don't know. I feel like the Pentel brush pens cover a wider range of colors, whereas I feel like these ones are more of the same colors, just muted or toned slightly. Overall, I think they're all really good choices, and like I said, they behaved well on all three papers. I will say the thicker your paper is, the slower you will probably have to go to get to the full ink profile. For the thin paper, like the Hobonichi Tombow paper, I'd say these are a wonderful addition. If you like using the Pentel Sign pens, this is probably even better because they dry faster. And then if you're just using like standard notebook paper or copy paper, I mean, it's a good middle ground for all three choices. All right, guys, so that's my in-depth review and comparison between the Pentel, the Writech, and the Tombow brush pens. If you're interested in more content like this, I do have an Instagram that you can go follow. I post content mainly about Hobonichi and other stationery that I like to use. And feel free to like and subscribe so I can continue to make more content like this. And let me know in the comments which pack you think is the best out of all three, the vibrant, the natural, or the vintage. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!